Yahuwah, so that there may be nothing between us and you, Yahuwah. We thank you, we give your name esteem, Yahuwah, give you praise, Yahuwah, for everything that you're doing, Yahuwah, asking that you would we praise Yahuwah. We thank you, we give your name esteem for everything that you're doing. Pray, Yahuwah, that you will lead us of this ministry, Yahuwah, our senior Sabrina Brown, and our apostle Anton Brown Senior, Yahuwah. We pray, Yahuwah, that you will continue to have your way in and through them, that your word, Yahuwah, the best, Yahuwah, as they so knowledge, Yahuwah, that you have given them, Yahuwah, that you would pour it out unto us, Yahuwah, that we have open hearts and open minds, Yahuwah, to receive your truth on tonight, Yahuwah. We pray, Yahuwah, that you will touch all those, Yahuwah, that will be here present, Yahuwah, in person, Yahuwah, or through social media, Yahuwah. We thank you, we give your name esteem, Yahuwah, everything that you're doing. Asking, Yahuwah, that you would give us the songs to sing, Yahuwah, on tonight, Yahuwah. Give us the music to play, Yahuwah. And we thank you, Yahuwah, that Yahuwah will sing praises, Yahuwah, unto you, Yahuwah. We thank you, Yahuwah, for everything that you're doing. We continue to pray, Yahuwah, for shalom, Yahuwah, and unity, Yahuwah, to the body, Yahuwah, that you will continue to bring Yisrael together, Yahuwah. We thank you, we give your name esteem, Yahuwah, for everything that you're doing. Praying, Yahuwah, asking that you will open up the hearts and the minds, Yahuwah, to everyone, Yahuwah, that is listening on tonight, Yahuwah, that they will receive your Torah, Yahuwah, that they will receive your instructions, Yahuwah, that they will receive it with joy, Yahuwah, with gladness, Yahuwah, whether it be rebuke, Yahuwah, correction, whether it be just more knowledge, Yahuwah. We thank you, Yahuwah, for everything that you're doing, Yahuwah, and everything that you're going to do in and through us, Yahuwah. We pray, Yahuwah, you will touch all those, Yahuwah, that are out there, Yahuwah, constantly, Yahuwah, steadily proclaiming truth, Yahuwah, and a right word, Yahuwah. We pray, Yahuwah, that you will continue to shield and protect them, Yahuwah. Shield and protect, Yahuwah, your warriors, Yahuwah, on tonight, Yahuwah. We thank you, Yahuwah, for everything that you're doing, Yahuwah. We pray, Yahuwah, continually, Yahuwah, for those that are asleep, Yahuwah, that as they come across, Yahuwah, different ministries like this, Yahuwah, that their ruach, Yahuwah, will be touched, Yahuwah, and that they'll have a desire to learn more, Yahuwah, of past, Yahuwah, that was taken away from them, Yahuwah, memories, Yahuwah, that they themselves, Yahuwah, did not have, Yahuwah, but through their bloodline, Yahuwah, it is within them, Yahuwah. We pray, Yahuwah, that you would touch, Yahuwah, that you would have your way, Yahuwah. Open up the hearts and the minds, Yahuwah, of those sinners, Yahuwah. Those are people that are walking in false religions, Yahuwah. Those are people that are walking in Islam, Christianity, Yahuwah, commit, Yahuwah, anything, Yahuwah, that is not of you, Yahuwah. We pray, Yahuwah, that your will be done, Yahuwah. We thank you, Yahuwah, for what you're doing. That as we prepare, Yahuwah, to stand and sing praises unto you, Yahuwah, that your will be done in this and through us, Yahuwah. We thank you, Yahuwah, we forever give your name esteem, honor, and praise, Yahuwah. And the children in your son, Yahushua, our Mashiach's name, that we do pray. And it is so. I said everyone stand upon their feet to give Yahuwah hang out the praise as we call forth the NYK praise team at this time.
Oh, give thanks unto Yahuwah, for he is great. Yes, he is great. Oh, give thanks unto Yahuwah, for he is great. Yes, he is great. For he is worthy, worthy. For he is great. Yes, he is great. Oh, give thanks unto Yahuwah, for he is great. Yes, he is great. Oh, give thanks unto Yahuwah, for he is great. is great, for he is worthy, worthy, for he is great. Yes, he is great, for he is worthy, worthy, for he is great. Yes, he is great. Oh, give thanks unto Yahuwah, for he is great. Yes, he is great. Oh, give thanks unto Yahuwah, for he is great. Yes, he is great. Oh, give thanks unto Yahuwah, for he is great. Yes, he is great. Oh, give thanks unto Yahuwah, for he is great. Yes, he is great, for he is worthy, worthy, for he is great. Yes, he is great, for he is worthy, worthy, for he is great. Yes, he is great, for he is worthy, worthy, for he is great. Yes, he is great. Oh, give thanks unto Yahuwah, for he is great. Yes, he is great. Oh, give thanks unto Yahuwah, for he is great. Yes, he is great. He is worthy, worthy, for he is great. Yes, he is great, for he is worthy, worthy, for he is great. Yes, he is great. Oh, give thanks unto Yahuwah, for he is great. Yes, he is great. Oh, give thanks unto Yahuwah, for he is great. Yes, he is great, for he is worthy, worthy, for he is great. Yes, he is great, for he is worthy, worthy, for he is great. Yes, he is great, for he is worthy, worthy, for he is great. Yes, he is great, for he is worthy, worthy, for he is great. Yes, he is great. Oh, give thanks unto Yahuwah, for he is great. Yes, he is great. Oh, give thanks unto Yahuwah, for he is great. Yes, he is great, for he is worthy, worthy, for he is great. Yes, he is great, for he is worthy, worthy, for he is great. Yes, he is great, for he is worthy, worthy, for he is great. Yes, he is great, for he is worthy, worthy, for he is great. Yes, he is great. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. I lift my hands in total adoration Because of you, my cloudy days are gone. I can sing to you this song. I just wanna say that I love you more than anything. I lift my hands in total adoration unto you. You reign on the throne, for you are Yahweh alone. Because of you, my cloudy days are gone. I can sing to you this song. I just wanna say that I love you more than anything. I lift my hands in total adoration unto you. You reign on the throne, for you are Yahweh alone. Because of you, my cloudy days are gone. I can sing to you this song. I just wanna say that I love you more than anything. I love you up. I worship and adore you. Just want to tell you, you're why I love you more than anything. I love you up. I love you up. I worship and adore you. Just want to tell you, you're why I love you more than anything. I love you up. I love you up. I worship and adore you. Just want to tell you, you're why I love you more than anything. I lift my hands in total adoration unto you. You reign on the throne, for you are Yahweh alone. Because of you, my cloudy days are gone. I can sing to you this song. I just wanna say that I love you more than anything. I lift my hands in total adoration unto you. You reign on the throne, for you are Yahweh alone. Because of you, my cloudy days are gone. I can sing to you this song. I just wanna say that I love you more than anything. I love you up. I love you up. I worship and adore you. Just want to tell you, you're why I love you more than anything. I love you up. I love you up. I worship and adore you. Just want to tell you, you're why I love you more than anything. I love you up. I love you up. I worship and lift my hands in total adoration unto you. You reign on the throne, for you are Yahuwah alone. Because of you, my cloudy days are gone. I can sing to you this song. I just wanna say that I love you more than anything. I lift my hands in total adoration unto you. You reign on the throne, for you are Yahuwah alone. Because of you, my cloudy days are gone. I can sing to you this song. I just wanna say that I love you more than anything. I love you up. I love you up. I worship and adore you. Just want to tell you, Yahuwah, I love you more than anything. I love you up. I love you up. I worship and adore you. Just want to tell you, Yahuwah, I love you more than anything. I love you up. I love you up. I worship and adore you. Just want to tell you, Yahuwah, I love you more than anything. I love you up. I love you up. I worship and adore you. Just want to tell you, Yahuwah, I love you more than anything. I lift my hands in total adoration unto you. You reign on the throne, for you are Yahuwah alone. Because of you, my cloudy days are gone. I can sing to you this song. I just wanna say that I love you more than anything. I lift my hands in total adoration unto you. You reign on the throne, for you are Yahuwah alone. Because of you, my cloudy days are gone. I can sing to you this song. I just wanna say that I love you more than anything. I love you up. I love you up. I worship and adore you. Just want to tell you, Yahuwah, I love you more than anything. I love you up. I love you up. I worship and adore you. Just want to tell you, Yahuwah, I love you more than anything. I love you up. I love you up. I worship and adore you. Just want to tell you, You're who I love you more than anything. Bow down and worship ya, worship ya, oh worship ya. Bow down and worship ya, worship ya. Worship God, we come to bow down and worship God, worship God, oh worship God, we come to bow down and worship God. Worship God, oh worship God, we come to bow down and worship God, worship God, oh worship God, oh consuming fire to fire, sweet perfume. I can feel your presence in this room. So bow down and worship God, worship God. Oh, worship God. Oh, something fire consuming fire, sweet perfume. I can feel your presence in this room. Oh, bow down and worship God. Worship God, oh worship God, we come to bow down and worship God, worship God, oh worship God, we come to bow down and worship God, worship God, oh worship God, we come to bow down and worship God, worship God. Oh, worship God. Oh, consuming fire, sweet perfume. I can feel your presence in this room. So bow down and worship God. Worship God. Oh, worship God. Oh, consuming fire, sweet perfume. I can feel your presence in this room. bow down and worship ya, worship ya. Oh, consuming fire, consuming fire, sweet perfume. I can feel your presence in this room. Bow down and worship ya, worship ya. Oh, worship ya. Please come to bow down and worship ya, worship ya. Oh, worship ya. We've come to bow down and worship ya, worship ya. Oh, worship ya. We've come to bow down and worship ya, worship ya. Oh, worship ya. Oh, consuming fire, consuming fire, sweet perfume. I can feel your presence in this room. Oh, bow down and worship ya, worship ya. Oh, worship ya. Oh, consuming fire, consuming fire, sweet perfume. I can feel your presence in this room. Oh, bow down and worship ya, worship ya. Oh, worship ya. Oh, consuming fire, consuming fire, sweet perfume. I can feel your presence in this room. Oh, bow down and worship ya, worship ya. Oh, worship ya. We come to bow down and worship ya, worship ya. Oh, worship ya. We come to bow down and worship ya, worship ya. Oh, worship ya. We come to bow down and worship ya, worship ya. Oh, worship ya.
Hallelujah, hallelujah.
Oh yeah, we praise you. 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 Oh yeah, oh yeah, we praise you. Oh yeah, oh yeah, we praise you. Ain't nobody never the devil. Ain't nobody never the devil. Ain't nobody never the devil. Cause like the clouds. Ain't nobody never the devil. Ain't nobody never the devil. Ain't nobody never the devil. Cause like the clouds. Oh yeah, oh yeah, we praise you. Oh yeah, oh yeah, we praise you. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, we praise you. Oh yeah, oh yeah, we praise you. Oh yeah, oh yeah, we praise you. Oh yeah, oh yeah, we praise you. Ain't nobody never the devil. Ain't nobody never the devil. Ain't nobody never the devil. Dance like Jesus dance. Ain't nobody never the devil. Ain't nobody never the devil. Ain't nobody never the devil. Dance like Jesus dance. Ain't nobody never the devil. Ain't nobody never the devil. Ain't nobody never the devil. Dance like Jesus dance. Oh yeah, oh yeah. We praise you, 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 oh yeah, oh yeah. We praise you. Ain't nobody never the devil. Ain't nobody never the devil. Ain't nobody never the devil. Dance like you dance. Ain't nobody never the devil. Ain't nobody never the devil. Ain't nobody never the devil. Dance like you dance. Ain't nobody never the devil. Ain't nobody never the devil. Ain't nobody never the devil. Dance like you dance. Oh yeah, oh yeah. We praise you. 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 Ain't nobody never the devil. Ain't nobody ever the devil. Ain't nobody never the devil. Sing my niggas sing. Ain't nobody never the devil. Ain't nobody never the devil. Ain't nobody never the devil. Sing my niggas sing. Ain't nobody never the devil. Ain't nobody never the devil. Ain't nobody never the devil. Sing my niggas sing. Ain't nobody never the devil. Ain't nobody never the devil. Ain't nobody never the devil. Sing like you sing. Oh yeah, oh yeah. We praise you. 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 Ain't nobody there but the devil. Ain't nobody there but the devil. Ain't nobody there but the devil. Pray like you pray. Ain't nobody there but the devil. Ain't nobody there but the devil. Ain't nobody there but the devil. Pray like you pray. Ain't nobody there but the devil. Ain't nobody there but the devil. Ain't nobody there but the devil. Pray like you pray. Ain't nobody there but the devil. Ain't nobody there but the devil. Nobody but the devil, pray like you pray. Ain't nobody there but the devil. Ain't nobody there but the devil. Ain't nobody there but the devil, pray like you pray. Oh yeah, we praise you. 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 Oh yeah, we praise you.
Hallelujah. We do give the highest esteem and the highest praise to our Abba. Thanking him for all that he has done. Thanking him for how he kept us all day long. Bringing us to this point in time with us on your praise. Let me now thank my declaration. The time is working in our temple. We come to work in the atmosphere. The first voice that you hear will be a portion of the praise team. And the second voice that you will be following them. Now take us into a time of declaration.
Listen, here have you ever heard this name? I know he wants to be clean, white as snow. You have salvation, then you know you will be clean. You'll be cleansed with the Spirit. Have you ever heard of this name? A name that starts with white and ends with a.
Hallelujah. We go into this time of declaration. We go into the praise of the atmosphere. And I want everyone to repeat after me, everyone that is in the sound of my voice. And just repeat after me. Say, I declare that I'll be Yahuwah. I thank you for waking me to your truth. And I endeavor every day of my life to walk worthy of the truth that you have brought me to. Therefore, I declare that I shall endeavor with all my might to walk in obedience to your Torah. Say you're defeated, your darkness is scattered, and Yahushua is sovereign. And it is so. Hallelujah. Come on, let's magnify him. Hallelujah. I don't know about you, but I'm thankful for being that aware from the nature, being awakened to the truth. Hallelujah. For walking in his truth. Not just simply walking in facts or some doctrine or ideology, but to really be walking in the truth of his Torah and having a greater understanding of who he is as it makes himself known to us through his set apart writ and through the writings. At this time, it is now time for us to proceed into our King. And as we prepare to do so, we give up glory to his set apart writ, the end of the God for our lives. Therefore, as it says in the book of Genesis, that is the only that will remain. There is seed time and harvest. We simply said that when we give it shall be given unto us, but as your best time shall be given and ready. So we have to call it to our ways. Hallelujah. This is the end of Malachi. When we obedient in our tithes and our offering, if we will open unto us the windows of heaven, the doors out of the roof, and there shall not be able unto receive. He will rebuke the house, and the people shall not have cast forth even all the time of the people. Says the song of the house. He that does know the same thing will have that the happiness of cheerful giver. He can see through the soul, therefore I put in heaven my see so. And the prison is the fruit of our righteousness. Against consciousness over the little bit, and the time is coming and now is, where the people shall overtake the soul. So as we comprehend the soul, receive the great expectation of reaping the harvest, we know that not only is there seed time, but what time is it? What time is it? Oh, what time is it? It is harvest time. And I also would be more than happy to get one up to you. For those of you that are viewing the book without way of internet radio, or how you may be viewing us that are not here, if you desire to sow seed into good ground, and if you know that this is good ground to sow into it, as you sow according to the same heartbeat, and you tell the honor at his word, that he will perform everything that he said that he will do. And if he goes on word about you now to sow your seed, to brother, the riches, or support, if you desire to send it away or stay over here, send it to about 381. No matter what's happening, I have 292, so it's about 381. Come on, that's not going to have 292, so it's 381. And if you go on the ministry page, then if you would like to hit that donate button and it will follow the instructions described therein. Also, for those of you that like to use PayPal as your preference, then send us your information. We will send you the link and correspond accordingly. And we do thank you and thank all of those of you that already support this ministry, support this work. We thank you for your faithfulness. We thank you for your obedience and for your dedication and your commitment to this work. And we do thank you. We love you very much and appreciate all of that you do. So at this time, hallelujah.
Oh,
Seed to sow. Again, we do thank you in advance as we lift up your seed as well. Of you, we do thank you now for how you have worked us to have seed to sow, pray for our food, for multiplying our seeds so according to your set apartment. We do thank you, Abba, as we walk in obedience to your Torah. We thank you that as we walk in obedience to your word. You said that whenever we give, it shall be given unto us good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. Shall you cause men to give into our bosom? We do thank you as we prepare ourselves to receive even now. We thank you, Abba, as we walk in great expectation of your Torah. You said, Abba, that if we're willing and obedient, that we shall eat the bounty of this land. And so we do thank you now, in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach, that it is so. And it is so. Hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. It is now time. And again, thank you for your participation and your liberal giving into this work and this ministry. You make it happen. So we will thank you, Lord, for it is now time for us to receive from this other part of it. It is now time, hallelujah, for an impartation from our Abba. And I'm thankful because it is He that gives us not just simply the power to get wealth, but the way that He empowers us to get it is through His instructions. He has given us explicit instruction on how we are to get wealth. And how do we do that? First of all, we're walking in obedience to His word, His Torah. And I'm also thankful because He does not leave us. And here's what we as a people have to be careful. Because I know a lot of us have read the scriptures that you will receive His Torah, His word, and you'll need no man to teach you. Now, here's where you need to get understanding. Here's where you get real. And I'll say, well, you know, because we have a lot of Facebook preachers and Facebook prophets and pastors and Instagram instigators and MySpace ministers and everybody else getting on doing everything that they want to do. Now understand, beloved, that you do need one to teach you. Yes, He will place His Torah and He said He places His word in our hearts and in our minds and in our ruach, but you have to understand, how does it get there? How does it get there? Belief comes by what? And by hearing what? By hearing the Torah. So that means that you hear it, someone is speaking it. And don't try to tell me, I heard it because the Lord told me Himself. First of all, He ain't allowed. So y'all need to cut that mess out. Hallelujah. Y'all know, LORD means they all. All right, Hebrew, cut that mess out. Hallelujah. And so, now, He has given us teachers. He has given us instructors. He has given us pastors, shepherds, that will lead and guide us and feed us, His people. And even the thing that those who want to hear, even if no one can, is that He says that He gives the secret things to His prophets. And so we are just truly so real here, because we just don't have it by His his impartation to have his very elect right here in this house. So get yourself ready to receive from him on this evening. And I hope you came hungry and thirsty for his righteousness, for his right standing, and for his instructions, because according to his set apart written, you shall be filled. Not might, not maybe. Because if you leave empty, that's on you. That's your fault. Hallelujah. But if you come hungry, you come thirsty for truth, then you shall be filled. Hallelujah. And I know many of you can already attest to that, because I see y'all be giving you shout outs and so forth, and your support that again is greatly appreciated. Hallelujah. So we thank you for those that like to be participators and not just spectators. So without further ado, I'm going to and bring to your forefront one who is truly, awesomely, and mightily anointed to do everything that the Abba has called him to do, because she is truly the root to all of those that need her. And so I am truly honored at this time to bring to your forefront my Mora, the senior pastor of Messengers of Yahuwah's Kingdom and Bread Belief Ministries, our very own apostle and senior prophetess. So bring her around, put your hands together. She comes to break with the camera. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Come on, let's worship him. Come on, let's get our hearts and minds in a posture of worship. Come on, hallelujah, hallelujah. Oh, hallelujah. Come on, let's worship him. Hallelujah. Oh, hallelujah. Oh, hallelujah. Oh, hallelujah. Wonderful is the name. Wonderful is the name. Wonderful. Yahuwah is wonderful. Yahuwah is wonderful. 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 Wonderful is your name. Wonderful is your name. Wonderful counselor. Mighty God. King of kings. Heavenly Father. Lord of kings. King of kings. Dominion to the journey. Make it to the journey. Yeah, I'm in there, I'm whole. And Lord, we know. And Lord, and Lord, we know. When you want our life, when you want our life, we have no victory. Have no victory. Wonderful. as we come together to confess, first and foremost, the Baruch of the Torah, which is our guide, which is our instructor, which is our teacher, which teaches us how to live and be approved of and by our God. It is important that we understand that it is through this that we've come to understand what we are to do and how we are supposed to do it. So we truly want to give Abba Yah, Torah, and Baruch Him for it. Because it is what has brought us to where we are this day. And so on tonight we're going to do the Baruch of the Torah, and we're going to go into the commandments. Don't stop praising Him. Don't stop worshiping Him. Don't stop giving Him highest esteem. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Come on, Baruch with me. Baruch Yahuwah. The Baruch one. Baruch is Yahuwah. The Baruch one. For all eternity. Baruch atah. Yahuwah. Our supreme one. King of the universe. Who selected us from all the people. And gave us His Torah. Baruch atah. Yahuwah. Giver of the Torah. And it is so. Baruch atah. Yahuwah. Our supreme one. King of the universe. Who gave us the Torah of truth. And implanted eternal life within us. Baruch atah. Yahuwah. Giver of the Torah. And it is so. And it is so. Now we have the reading of the 10 Commandments by Apostle Brown.
Aleph, and Yahuwah your power which brought you out of the land of Israel from the days of slavery. Faith, you shall have no other power before me. You shall not make you any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in Shemayim above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in man beneath the earth. You shall not bow down yourself unto them nor serve them, for I, Yahuwah your power, am a jealous power, visiting the iniquity of the Abbas upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Gimel, you shall not take the name of Yahuwah your power and falsify it, for Yahuwah will not hold him guiltless that takes his name and empties it. Now, guard the seventh day to set it apart, as Yahuwah your power has commanded you. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of Yahuwah your power. In it you shall not do any work, you nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your manservant, nor your maidservant, nor your ox, nor your ass, nor any of your cattle, nor your foreigner that is within your gates, that your manservant and your maidservant may rest as well as you. And remember that you were a servant in the land of Israel, and that Yahuwah your power brought you out from a mighty hand and by a stretched out arm. Therefore Yahuwah commanded you to keep the Sabbath day. Hey, honor your Abba and your Im, as Yahuwah your power has commanded you, that your days may be prolonged and that it may go well with you in the land which Yahuwah your power is about to give you. What? You shall not murder, saying, neither shall you commit adultery. Hey, neither shall you steal. Take, neither shall you bear false witness against your neighbor. You, neither shall you desire your neighbor's wife. Neither shall you covet your neighbor's baby, his field, or his manservant, or his maidservant, his ox, or his ass, or anything that is your neighbor's. These words Yahuwah spoke unto all your assembly in the mount out of the midst of the fire, of the cloud, and of the thick darkness, with a great voice. And he added no more. And he wrote them in 2 tables of stone and delivered them unto me. And it is so.
And it is so. Yahushua, the son of Nun, chapter 1, verse 7 and 8. Only be you strong and very courageous, that you may observe to do according to all the Torah which Moshe my servant commanded you. Excuse me. Turn not from it to the right hand or to the left, that you may prosper wherever you go. Verse 8, as I have tailored it to fit our time of confession, let us confess this together. I will not let this scroll of the Torah
I will not let this scroll of the Torah
depart out of my mouth.
depart out of my mouth.
But I shall meditate on it
But I shall meditate on it
day and night,
day and night,
that I may observe to do
that I observe to do
according to all that is written in it.
according to all that is written.
But I shall make my way prosperous
For then I shall make my way prosperous,
and act wisely.
and act wisely,
And act wisely.
and act wisely.
Now look at your neighbor and tell your neighbor, you shall act wisely.
And you shall act wisely.
Look at your other neighbor, tell your other neighbor, you shall act wisely. And you shall act wisely. Now take your hand and place it over your heart and say, Abiyah,
Abiyah,
I shall act wisely.
I shall act
Come
wisely.
on, I shall act wisely.
I shall act
Come
wisely.
on, I endeavor
I endeavor
to act wisely.
to act wisely.
I endeavor
I endeavor
to act wisely.
to act wisely.
I endeavor
I endeavor
to act wisely.
to act wisely.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. It is important once again that we endeavor to act wisely. For it is given unto us as a gift. You have to understand eternal life is a gift. And He's given it unto us, and we want to ensure that we're doing everything that He's given unto us to do, that we don't forfeit the baruch that comes along with it, that we do not baruch the gift that He's given unto us, and that is because of the Torah, His instructions. For no other people did He give His instructions to except us. And so it is important that you understand who you are and what your responsibility and obligations are unto Him and unto one another. It is important that we understand that when we act wisely, our wisdom is projected or is felt by our siblings, our mishpachah. And so when we do not act wisely, guess what? Everybody feels it, believe it or not.
That's right.
We all feel when someone doesn't act wise. And we also, in that same breath, we feel it when we act wise, when we act wisely. So it's important that we understand our responsibility and our obligation one to another. And it is so.
And it is so.
Deuteronomy chapter 6, verses 1 through 18. And it reads, these are the commandments, the statutes, and the judgments which Yahuwah, your power, commanded to teach you, that you might do them in the land where you are going to enter and possess it, that you might fear Yahuwah, your power, to keep all His statutes and His commandments, which I command you and your son and your grandson all the days of your life, and that your days may be prolonged. Hear therefore, O Yisrael, and observe to do it, that it may be well with you, and that you may increase mightily as Yahuwah power of your Abbas has promised you in the land that flows with milk and honey. Hear, O Yisrael, Yahuwah, our supreme one. Yahuwah is a God. Shema Yisrael, Yahuwah is our Savior. Yahuwah is a God. And you shall love Yahuwah, your power, your supreme one, with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your might. And these words which I command you this day shall be in your heart. And you shall teach them diligently unto your children. And shall talk of them when you sit in your bed, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall bind them for a sign upon you, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. To fall, to do what?
Bind to the mind.
And you shall write them upon the posts of your bed and on your gates. And it shall be when Yahuwah your power shall have brought you into the land which He swore to your fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Yaakov, to give you great and beautiful cities, which you did not build, and houses full of great things which you built not, and wells dug which you did not dig, vineyards and olive trees which you did not plant, where you shall have eaten and be full. Then beware lest you forget Yahuwah which brought you forth out of the land of Mitzrayim, from the bed of slavery. You shall fear Yahuwah your power and serve Him, and shall swear by His name. You shall not go after other power, the power of people which are round about you. For Yahuwah your power is a jealous power among you, lest the anger of Yahuwah your power be kindled against you, and He shut up, or He destroy you from off the face of the earth. And you shall not tempt Yahuwah your power as you tempted Him in Massah. You shall diligently keep the commandments of Yahuwah your power and His testimonies and His statutes which He has commanded you. And you shall do that which is right and upright in the sight of Yahuwah, that it may be well with you, and that you may go in and possess the upright land which Yahuwah swore unto your fathers. And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. Once again, it's important that we understand not just the creed, but the instructions that He's given unto us as a people.
The only reason it becomes hard and difficult is when we are trying to modify it and we are trying to adjust it to fit our lifestyle instead of us adjusting and fitting our lifestyle to fit the instructions that he's given unto us, his people, his children. Now we're going to turn our attention to the book of Devarim once again, and we're going to go to chapter 11, verses 13 to 21. But before we go there, I want to read the verses that I read consistently. Once again, as I said before, doing things consistently is important. Repetition is very important, especially to the mind. When we are renewing them and we are altering our minds, used to think and used to process information. So repetition is one of the things that truly does help us as a people to truly renew our minds. You know, we can't rewind it back to truth, but we surely can renew it to truth.
That's right.
When it comes time to renew insurance or any kind of policies, you can either go back with the same people you were with and renew it, or you can go somewhere else and renew your policy under somebody else. Because when you go to a different person or different insurance company, you're getting the same policy and you're renewing it, but you're renewing it under a new company, business, or new name or what have you. The only reason why it'll change and become new is if you change certain things in it. But understanding that this is the renewed covenant, not a new covenant, but renewed. Based upon the principles and based upon those very things that the first covenant spoke of. Not because it was weak, but because this is Yahuwah's way of showing us that he kept us in and did not boot us out. But for a season, he turned his face away from our ancestors and forefathers, which we were included in that because we were in them. And so now here it is. He's renewing the covenant he gave. And so this is why it's important that we understand where we are and where we stand and what we need to do to ensure that we do not cause him to revoke the covenant from off of our lives. And it is so.
And it is so.
Mishlei 15 and 8, the sacrifices of the wicked is an abomination, hateful and exceedingly offensive unto you, Abba Yah. But the prayer of the upright, it is your delight. Mishlei 3 and 4, so shall you find good understanding, high esteem in the sight or judgment of Yahuwah and man, and it is so.
And it is so.
Tehillim 34 and 15, the eyes of Yahuwah are upon the upright, and his ears are open unto our cry. Verse 17, the upright cry, and Yahuwah heareth and delivereth us out of all our troubles. Acts 1 and 8, but you shall receive power after that the Ruach Kodesh is come upon you, and you shall be witnesses unto me both in Jerusalem and unto all Judea and Shamar and unto the uttermost part of the earth. And it is so.
And it is so.
Tehillim 1 and 1, Baruch is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the unrighteous, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. But his delight is in the law or the instructions of Abba Yah, and he doth meditate upon it. And it is so.
And it is so.
Abraham 11 and 6, but without belief it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to Yahuwah must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. It takes belief to be our obedient, diligent discipline. Ayah 33 and 4, the Ruach Kodesh of Yahuwah hath made me, and the breath of the Almighty hath given me life. Somebody say he's a life giver.
He's a life giver.
Say it again, he's a life giver.
He's a life giver.
Micah 4 and 8, but truly I am full of power by the Ruach Kodesh of Yahuwah, and of judgment and of might to declare unto Yaakov his transgression and to Yisrael his sin. And it is so.
And it is so.
Yehukin and Aleph 5, 4 and 5. For whatsoever is born of Yahuwah overcometh the world, and this is the victory that overcometh the world, even our belief. Who is he that overcometh the world, but he that believeth that Yahusha is the Son of Yahuwah? Yehukin and Aleph, chapter 2, verse 5 and 6. For whoever keeps his word, the Torah, truly the Allah of Yahuwah is vested in him. By this we know that we are in him. Verse 17, and the world passes away, and the lust thereof. But he that doeth the will of Yahuwah abideth forever. Somebody say abideth forever.
Abideth forever.
Say it again, abideth forever.
Abideth forever.
Yehukin and Moshiach, which is Mark 11:24. Therefore I say unto you, what things soever you desire when you pray, believe that you receive them, and you shall have them. And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. And it is so.
And it is so.
Devarim chapter 11 verses 13 through 22. And it shall come to pass, if you listen carefully to my commandments which I command you this day, to love Yahuwah to Ahava Yahuwah your power, and to serve him with all your heart and with all your soul, that I will give you the rain of your land in his due season, the first rain and the latter rain, that you may gather in your corn and your wine and your oil. And I will send grass in your fields for your cattle, that you may eat and be full. Take heed to yourselves that your heart be not deceived, and you turn aside and serve other power and worship them. And then Yahuwah's wrath be ignited against you. And he shut up Shemayim that there be no rain, and that the land yield not her fruit, unless you perish quickly from off the great land which Yahuwah gives you. Therefore shall you lay up these my words in your heart and in your soul, and bind them for a sign upon your hand, that they may be as frontlets between your eyes, to fall, bind to the mind. And you shall teach them your children, speaking of them when you sit in your bed, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall write them upon the doorposts of your bed and upon your gates, that your days may be multiplied, and the days of your children in the land which Yahuwah swore to your Abbas to give them, as the days of Shemayim upon the earth. For if you shall carefully keep all these commandments which I command you, to do them, to Ahava Yahuwah your power, to walk in all his halakha, and to cling unto him. And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. As we have come to this portion of our time of class, where we have come to read our declaration, that we may seal it with the last confession of this portion. Let us recite this together. We subdue ignorance.
We subdue ignorance
with Torah knowledge.
with Torah knowledge.
We arrest hate.
We arrest hate
with Torah ahava.
with Torah ahava.
We release Torah truth.
We release Torah truth
To the four extremities
to the four extremes
of the earth,
of the earth,
where Ibram
where it
reside.
resides.
We declare
We declare
healing,
healing,
deliverance,
deliverance,
shalom,
shalom,
and salvation
and salvation
to the body
to the body
of Yahuwah
of Yahuwah
through Yahusha,
through Yahushua,
our Mashiach.
our Mashiach.
And it is so.
And it is so.
We gather once again. This is our last and final confession for this portion of our class. As we recite this and confess it, let our belief truly grab a hold of this, and let us truly allow this to resonate in our hearts and our minds. As we gather together, let us bow before our King. Let us recite this together. May the utterance of my mouth
May the utterance of the mouth
and the deliberation of my heart
and the deliberation of my heart
be desirable before you,
be desirable before you,
O Yahuwah,
O Yahuwah,
my rock
my rock
and my redeemer.
and my redeemer.
May the utterance of my mouth
May the utterance of my mouth
and the deliberation of my heart
and the deliberation of my heart
be desirable before you,
be desirable before you,
O Yahuwah,
O Yahuwah,
my rock,
my rock,
my rock,
my rock,
and my redeemer.
and my redeemer.
And it is so.
And it is so.
We have just recited Tehillim 19 and 15, and it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. You may be seated in his presence. As we have come to this portion of our time of class, we've come together tonight as Abba Yah has once again allowed us to come, to be together, to study together, and to be informed together. And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. It's important that we understand once again the purpose of our us coming together, of the purpose of why we are here, and what it is we are here and desire to accomplish. Now, once again, it's important that we understand as we're here on tonight, once again, in this, our Torah empowerment, our higher heights and deeper depths Torah study, where we go higher in his knowledge and deeper in his ahava. As he continues to unfold unto us his children, the children of power, his revelation, and the lifestyle and the life of his son, Yahushua HaMashiach. It is important that we understand that it's not a fairy tale, it is not just a story, but it is the life of his son, our Savior, who came to live and to show us how we can do the same thing. He is our example of how we are to govern ourselves. He is our example of how we are to carry our lives out. And so it's important that we understand these very things. Once again, I want you to turn your attention to the book of Yehukin and Moshiach, which is Mark chapter 1. And we're going to look at verses 35 to 39. Once again, this is phase 2, the year of popularity, as we are looking at the timeline of Yahushua. For many, this is very important because many have been made to believe that Yahushua is an idol, and they have tried to use scripture upon scripture to rebuttal and to fight against who he is. And they have actually gone to the measures to, once again, to say that he was an idol and that he was not, and he is not to be esteemed. You have to understand, when we look at the writings and we look at the purpose of the instructions that we've been given, we see that Yahushua never once opened his mouth to ask anybody to worship him. Everything he did was to direct us to the Abba. And so it is important that we understand, do we esteem him? Yes, we absolutely do. Because if we don't esteem him, then we surely don't esteem the Abba. Because you have to understand, they are one. Now, I know many believe that they are one and the same and that there is no difference. But that is not so. Right. That is not so. Yahushua is his son and Yahuwah is the Abba. And he is a part of the family or the Mishpachah. And so it's important that we understand that all writings point to his being a part and being of Abba, but not being Abba. So it's important that we understand that. Once again, I say what I say in full confidence, not for debating. I say it because of the writings. Once again, it is important that we understand everything about the writings. But this is to help us to understand the path that he took, the places he went, and who it was that he ministered to. Right. For without this, we have missing links. And whenever there are missing links or missing pages, you know, who wants to read a book with missing pages? But when there are missing pages, you miss the fullness and you miss the fleshing out of the full body of the story. Without the beginning, the middle, and the end, you only have a portion of the story, which leaves you with a cliffhanger. Because now you don't know what's going to take place. Or you don't know what's happening in the middle. You go from the beginning, no middle, and the end. You're still going to be dumbfounded because you don't know what took place. All you know is it started and it ended, and no details in the middle. So this is kind of what we see that's in the middle, per se. It is the middle of what we are looking at. And so once again, as we follow his life and we follow the life, his footsteps, we can see the places that he's gone, the people that he touched, and we can begin to truly settle the argument and the issues of who was he ministering to. Once again, you have to go at Yahu, chapter 15, verse 24, when Yahushua said, I've come not but for the prostituting sheep of Yisrael. You have to understand, he was making it clear he was coming for, and why? Because they were in a position of prostitution. Right. Anybody that understands what a prostitute does, a prostitute she just doesn't sell herself to one. She sells herself or himself to the highest bidder. So if you're male or female, you are in this position, you know exactly what I'm saying. You will sell yourself to the highest bidder. Whoever comes along with the best proposition, you're ready to follow them. And this is how a lot of our people are today. Once again, I'm not a problematic teacher or but I believe in revealing what the Abba reveals to me. It's important that we understand we are just like sometimes children. We go here and there and everywhere because sometimes we can't find contentment. But I'm here to tell you, when you accept his will for your life and begin to understand that these are instructions that he gave to us for us to live by and to live in, and watch this, find contentment, that we will be able to accept his will. Until you do that, you will not accept it and you will be all over the place, selling yourself for the highest or to the highest bidder. Whoever can give you what you want to hear. When we talked about those have itchy ears. You give yourself to the highest bidder. Why? Because it's whatever floats your boat, whatever makes you feel good. But you have to understand this is what got our ancestors and forefathers into grave trouble. That's right, grave trouble. In other words, they went to the grave, many of them, because of their disobedience.
That's right.
So it's important that we understand we're not here because we want our ears tickled. We're not because we want to be lights. We are here because we have a responsibility, and that is to go in and win our prostituting mishpachah back unto the Abba, just as Yahusha did.
That's right.
Remember Acts 1:8 when he said, "And ye shall receive power after that the Ruach HaKodesh has come upon you to be witnesses." Well, he's already told us every place that we were going to go.
That's
And
right.
so this is what we are doing now. Going to those places and decreeing and declaring the Besora, the truth, that what is great, that what is great. And so it's important that we understand these things. And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. All right. Now, on tonight, I'm going to be reading, once again, as I did before, I'm going to be reading from two renderings, the Abrahamic Covenant, and then from the Besora. I found them to be truly, to me, really good when it comes to the word. And so this is what I'll be reading from. I'll read a verse from one and then a verse, and then we'll be using, as we did before, paralleling those things even from the Abrahamic Covenant, from the King James Version, so that those that are reading, if there is a discrepancy, we can reveal it, and if there is something that needs to be added, we can add it. Once again, I encourage you to find, if you are using a King James Bible, I encourage you to find something outside of the King James Version, because once again, you have to understand it is going to limit your ability to learn. Somebody will say, well, why would you say that easily? Because it cuts out and it changes and it alters of many things. You have to understand this was written based upon the Greek and the Latin perspective. In other words, they wrote it from a theological perspective, and so they altered and they switched and changed up a lot of things to fit their mindset,
That's
which
right.
is Christianity. So once again, it's important that we understand that. But here we are, once again, in phase 2 of the year of popularity for Yahushua HaMashiach. As he entered into his second year of ministry, his popularity began to swell, attracting crowds from all over Galilee, Decapolis, and Judea. This is the time when Yahushua often had to find solitude, as described in Yehukanan Moshiach, which is Mark 1:45, and we're going to see that. Also, as a result, Yahushua could no longer enter a town openly, but stayed outside in lonely places. Yet the people still came to him from everywhere. As said in Luke 5:15-16, yet the news about him spread all the more, so that crowds of people came to hear him and to be healed of their sicknesses. But Yahushua often withdrew to lonely places and he prayed. So it's important that we understand the steps he took, because this helps us too to understand how we are to govern our lives. Because I believe sometimes we get this life twisted. We get some things really twisted, and we began to get this mindset that, that we are to meet the demands of everybody. You have to understand Yahushua did not, could not and will not be demanded.
Right. Mm-hmm. That's right.
In other words, you are not going to boss them around. You're not going to say, I demand this here, there, right now. And sometime in this walk, I believe that we as born-again believers and as being a part of a very, very large mishpachah, we sometimes tend to try to spread ourselves a little thin. And we think that we're to meet the demands of everybody. And I'm not saying this, just to be putting it out there, just to be saying it. What I am saying is to encourage your hearts, to let you know you can do only what you can do. Because once again, we are given what to do. After we've done that, the rest is left up to that individual to believe or disbelieve. It is up to them to accept or to reject. And sometimes I think we go and we're doing everything we know how except, and I won't say spoon feed them, but I'm talking about jamming it in their mouths, feeding them.
Right.
Because when you, a person that can be spoon fed is somebody that accepts it. A person that you got to jam it in their mouth is somebody that don't want to accept it.
Right.
And so that's not what we want to do. We want to make sure that we are sharing and that what we're giving to those. We want to let them know and let you know we are helping you. But we cannot basically force feed people to accept truth. If they don't want it, you cannot lose sleep over it. You cannot become disgruntled about it. What you can do is follow in the path of Yahushua. Right. They accepted him, and the ones that did not, he kept it going. Because if you don't, you will find yourself really marking time, and that's dangerous. Because while you're marking time, time is still going on. Time does not stop for anybody. And so it's important that we understand, and I'm not saying it can't stop because we've seen it in the writings, but I'm saying unless it's important and necessary, it ain't stop for you because we're trying to go pay a bill. It ain't going to happen like that. But the thing of it is just letting you know, let not your heart be discouraged or downtrodden, because I know sometimes when you're dealing a little facetious, and they can become sometimes mean when you're trying to give them instructions to follow. So once again, how do we combat that, and how do we make sure we keep our parts up and we keep our morale and keep our ruach up? Is we look at how Yahushua handled things. And by looking at how he handled things, that encourages us so that we don't have to be discouraged. Now, once again, we're going to start verse 35. Once again, Yehukin and Moshiach, which is the book of Mark, chapter 1, and we're going to start at verse 35, and we'll read 35 to 39. So let's start at, all right, let's start at verse, all right, let's start at verse 35. Because 32, 33, and 34 talks about those he had healed, and he had that deliverance came into their lives. He healed many who were sick with various diseases and cast out many demons. For those that don't believe that demons do exist and that you got power to cast them out. And was not allowing the demons to speak because they knew him. So he was making sure he put a gag out on the demonic spirits so they couldn't speak. You know, when we were in Christianity, you would hear people tell them, boy, them demons told all her business. You start listening to how somebody spoke, you start thinking, well, you had a demon in you that basically walked in agreement with that. Because if we're supposed to be bringing healing and shalom, then why in the world would we allow a demon to expose somebody that's trying to come clean and be right? Once again, there were a lot of things that were done and still are being done in Christianity that is wrong. That's right. He forbid them to speak. Why? Because they knew who he was. And if you have any kind of authority and power, you know how to rebuke them. You know how to make them shut their mouths. And it is so. It is so. All right, verse 35. Let's start at verse 35. And it is so. And it is so.
Yehukin and Moshiach, chapter 1, verse 35 to 39, from the NIV scriptures. Very early in the morning, while it was still dark, Yahushua got up, left the house, and went off to a solitary place where he prayed. Shimon and his companions went to look for him, and when they found him, they exclaimed, "Everyone is looking for you." Yahushua replied, "Let us go somewhere else, to the nearby villages, so I can preach there also. That is why I have come." So he traveled throughout Galilee, preaching in their synagogues and driving out demons. And it is so.
And it is so. Now let's look at verse 35. And in the morning, rising up very early before daylight, he went out and departed into a solitary place and there prayed. Now that's the Abrahamic covenant version. Now we're going to look over here at the Besor, which is it's the same, but this one has a footnote we're going to get to. And having risen very early in the morning while still dark, he went out and went away to a lonely place, and there prayed. Once again, I want to stop right there. This is important to us to understand what type of lifestyle we are supposed to have. Right. We are supposed to have a lifestyle of prayer. Somebody say prayer.
Prayer.
It is a lifestyle that says we ought to pray early in the morning. Right. Now, we come on, and I'm not saying this to toot our horn in no means, but we come on the on Yom Shuli, or we come on in the morning on Yom Shuli and Yom Commission. These are 2 days that Abba Yah has given me to come and pray openly and allow others that desire to pray and just want to have somebody to pray with. And that's a good thing. But what's most important is that our personal and private time, that we have time that we pray before the breaking of day. This is what was demonstrated as the shakrit. I think that's how you say shakrit, the shakrit prayer. In other words, they prayed 3 times a day. And so you had the early morning, then you had noon, and then you had the afternoon or in the evening, late evening prayer. And so these are the 3 times that we pray. Remember, they had to go to the tabernacle and offer up animal sacrifices. Well, when the animal sacrifices were no longer taken up, this is what they did in the place of that. They prayed, praised, and worshiped. So they had the 3 times. In the morning, they offered up prayer. And then at noon, they offered up prayer. And then in the late evening, they offered up prayer in its place. This is why it's important that we understand this regimen. And I know for a lot of people just coming in, sometimes you're trying to figure out, what do I pray? What do I say? Prayer is communication. It's talking to Abba Yah. All the things that you wanted to say to him, all the things with respect and understanding, know how to approach him. You have to understand he's not your dog. He's not your equal. He is not your, your running mate. He is our Savior. He is our King. Just as you would address a king, that is the way you are to address him. But above and beyond that. And so it's important that we understand how we are to address him. We address him and we seal it with the name of Yahushua. So it's important that we understand that we have a lifestyle of prayer, that we pray 3 times a day, early in the morning, noon, and then before we lay down and close our eyes. This is what we're supposed to do. Once again, I know sometimes for a lot of people into this setting a regimen of prayer like that, it's not difficult, but it becomes challenging. Somebody says, well, I have a husband and I have children, and somebody says, well, I have a wife and I have this. Well, that sounds like the majority of us that have mishpachah. Right. And so you have to understand how to organize your life to fit what he has given unto us. Right. You do not try to modify it to fit your life. You modify your life to fit it. And guess what? And then everything else will work out in the way it's supposed to. So once again, one of the things we've learned, as he went and he prayed and he gave out to them and he ministered to them, he had to find a time to get away into a place of solitude, or in another rendering, a lonely place, which was not be lonely, but be by himself, to pray to Abba Yah, to do what? To be strengthened and to be rejuvenated. Because when you give out, you got to be able to go back and listen and hear.
That's right.
And it is so.
And it is so. All
right, verse 36 says, and Shimon and those who were with him searched for him. Now you have to understand why they, it says search for him. And then in the Abrahamic covenant it says, and they that were with him followed after him. So you understand, search and follow after him. If he was by himself, that meant that they followed after him, not in the sense that they were with him, but that they were looking for him. And so they followed in his footsteps to try to see where he was. And so once again, it's important that we understand that if you don't see people in that time, understand, especially early in the morning or sometime when you think you're supposed to see them, just know that those that do understand the lifestyle, it's a time of prayer. And sometimes that personal time of prayer is not always, personal time of prayer is not where you bring anybody else. That's the time where it's just you and Abba Yah. And that's the time I believe that you ought to be able to be yourself. Not that when you're praying with others that you can't, but I believe that's the time that you ought to fully open yourself up and weep before him and cry and snot and really open yourself up to him. And I'm talking about in belief. I'm not talking about in theatrics. I'm talking about in belief. Right. And there are times that when you go before him that it will provoke you to cry, because you understand all the times that I was talking to you, I was talking to another. You have to understand, once again, that's my personal rendering on it. All the times I thought that I was talking to him and I was talking to another. All the times that I was reaching out to Ahabahim, I was reaching out to somebody and something else. And now that I finally understand enough to know that what I was doing was wrong, and that now the right way, of course, you're gonna have sometimes of emotion. You're gonna have some emotional times when you're with him, and there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing at all. Nothing wrong with that. Opening up yourself to him. Nothing wrong with that. Because that's the time you want to do that. And it is so. All right, now, let's look at verse 37. Why were looking for him? Because there were what? Other people seeking after him. You have to understand. Verse 37 says, and when they found him, they said to him, all are seeking you. How many people?
All of them.
All of them, because you have to understand, he was putting it down. He was healing, folks being healed, folks was being delivered, folks being set free,
right. Folks
was really being able to experience life in a whole nother vineyard or a vein. These people were experiencing something they had never experienced before. And now here it is. And you have to understand stuff like word travels quickly. Quickly. And so here it is. They're looking for him. Now you have to understand that the thing about this is where it begins to get not so much tricky, but you have to understand the reason why he had to leave, because he was not just for that region or that place. Right. Look what happens. Verse 38 says, and he said to them, let us go into the neighboring towns. And he said, let us go into the next towns that we may proclaim there also, because for this purpose I came. Once again, he says, but because for this have I come forth. Now you have to understand, this is where he wanted them to understand that nobody could have a monopoly on him. You have to understand he was sent to the prostituting sheep of Yisrael, meaning that there were 10 tribes. And so he did not and could not afford to get stuck in one place. That's why he had to go to the neighboring cities. Now you have to understand the neighboring towns held the children of Yisrael. For a lot of people, when they say all are seeking, you have to understand who is that all. Those are the ones, the children of Yisrael. I would dare to say, somebody would say, well, did other people get healed that were there? Absolutely. If they were there applying the belief, of course. Because that's what he did. But you have to understand, they were just brought forth to a place of healing. But not only was he sent to heal, but he was sent to recover, recapture, and bring back into alignment with truth, into the with the right relationship with Abba Yah. So you have to understand, he healed those that sought him to be healed, and he healed those and brought forth the Besorah to those that were the prostitutes and that he had come for. It's just like when we would feed those that were less fortunate. If you got in line, we didn't bypass you, we fed you too. That's but right. We understood who we were out there for. So once again, does that mean we were wrong? No, absolutely not. We understood what our mission was. We understood what our obligation was. But at the same time, those that were there, we did not turn them away. That's right. But at the same time, as we were there, we were also ministering to the prostituting sheep of Yisrael, just as he was. So it's important that we understand that. Why? Because then this is where you begin to understand universalism. That's right. Then everybody starts believing that it's for everybody. That everybody's supposed to be able to get. Now you have to understand, once again, unless they could apply the belief and they got in line, nobody was going to get them. It was a choice they made. So once again, he says, look, we've got to go because this is why I was brought forth, for this purpose. Why? To go and get the prostituting sheep of Yisrael. Right. Now, look at verse 39. 39 says, which is our verse, and he was proclaiming in their congregation in all Galilee and casting out demons. Now, let's look at what it says in the Abrahamic covenant. And he preached. Proclaiming and preach is the same thing.
That's right.
In their synagogues throughout all of Galilee and cast out demons. Now you have to understand, once again, what is this saying to us and why is it important that we understand this? It is important that we understand why. Because no mention of any churches in the first century. The custom was to go to synagogues and to pray and teach there, not to churches. This is why when people ask me, can I go to church on a Sunday? I tell them absolutely not. Because why are you going? Only way I can truthfully see that anybody goes into a church on a Sunday, the day of sun worship, is because this is a people that really want to walk in truth. And even then, they're going to stop having service on Sunday.
That's right.
They're going to start changing up their whole practices, because when you want to walk in truth, you begin with the things that you can start, that you know and that you can do on your own. And that means change the days that you celebrate and you esteem Abba Yah. So when I say don't go, a lot of times I think people think I'm just saying it to be facetious or to try to hold them back. No, I am saying it because if they have not asked you to come in there to bring forth the Besorah, then you better know they're bringing you in there to try to tear you up.
That's right.
They're bringing you in there so that they can cut you down and talk about the Torah, the teachings of Abba Yah, in a negative way, that when you walk out of there, you will walk out of there doubting your belief and doubting the stand that you take. This is why I say, no, you don't go in there. Now, many people say, well, what if they ask you to come and do it? If you ask me to come and do something and you have given me the opportunity to do it in the manner that you know I believe, then I will come and I will do, but I will not set up. I will not set up in a church on a Sunday, because I understand fully well that that is a day that is observed by those that worship the sun. Yes, it is. And the bottom line is, you don't have to go far to find that out. It is the truth. And so with that being said, it is important. We don't go there. Somebody says, well, we don't have synagogues. We just have buildings. Well, it ain't a church.
That's right. That's right.
And this is a problem with a lot of us that really become clinical and try to be technical. Well, I don't see where that, it's just a building. It don't have a steeple on it, neither is it a church. It's important that we understand and stop making excuses to opt out of winter places and becoming a part of what's going on there. You got to understand there is strength in number, and you got to get some strength in you and around you, because there's coming a time where you can, believe it or not, where access to each other is going to be cut off.
That's right.
The access that we have now is not going to be easy to be accessible. So it's important that we understand, once again, understand why we need to connect now and the purpose of it. Now, once again, look at what happened. He went and he was what? Proclaiming in their congregation. Now, you have to understand, what was he proclaiming? He was proclaiming the truth that they had forsaken and that they had left.
That's right.
That's why he was going. And he was showing them truth. Now, you have to understand, he did not go into the synagogues and destroy the Torah. Contrary to popular belief, he did not go in there and do that. What he did do was go in and proclaim the name of Yahuwah. You have to understand, one of the main things that kept Yahuwah in trouble, and the number one thing that kept Yahusha in trouble, is that he kept using the name of Yahuwah, which to them was out of order. After the Babylonian, as I told you before, during the Babylonian captivity, many of them basically did not, the majority of those sages and rabbis, after being in the Babylonian captivity, as they were there, many of them, as they were mocked and criticized because the people knew who they were. They knew that they were the children of Abba Yah, Yahuwah. And so they began to call them Yahuds.
That's right.
Sound like somebody would call us today. And so in that, by calling us Yahuds, those that were in upper positions said, we will not have the name of Abba Yah to be mocked and to be talked about. So we will not mention it. And anybody that does will find themselves in grave trouble.
That's right.
And that they would be even put to death by uttering the name. And so you have to understand, everything that Yahusha did went against what they had set up. Well, the problem comes with that is that when you set up something of that caliber, you must remember that if you forget and don't pass it down, then guess what? Then people are going to forget. And then if you forget, that's a bad place to be in, because now you're trying to figure out, what do you call them?
That's right.
Which we understand and know that those that are true believers then and now would not forget his name.
That's right.
Would not forget his name. But those that were on the outskirts and on the outside that forbid it, those were the ones that kept having an issue and a problem. Why? Because once again, you have to understand what was their motive. Their motive was to keep his name hidden and to keep his name covered. So if you cover his name and keep his name hidden, then you can say whatever you want and people will believe it. And so this is why it's important that we as the people or the children of Abba Yah understand what it is that we are supposed to be following. Now, once again, you have to understand demons. Now, when people look at, when you say demons, and, you know, a lot of times people think, oh, that ain't real. And yes, it is real. You can believe that it ain't real if you want, but it is real as you are real, which I hope you're real. But it's real.
That's right.
And demons are real. Yes. And the bad thing about it is that when people fail to acknowledge that, that's what gives them more strength to do whatever they want to do. And that's why they can do it and be all up in people's lives and messing with their stuff, and then they can possess people, and if people are not possessed by them, they can be oppressed by them.
That's right.
And this is where, once again, the problems come in. Now, I want to read something to you. I want to read this to you so I can show you. I want to read this once again. Give me a minute to get to it. And the reason why I want to read this is because I want to show you once again how they did and how they continue to do concerning his name. All right. Once again, it's important. Hold on, just give me a second. Once again, who he, what's going on here? Now, once again, it's important for us to understand all that he was doing. Now, once again, he left that place to go to where was needed as well, and so that there wouldn't be a monopoly. Now, understand what that means. That doesn't mean, once again, that he left the chosen people to go to another people that were not chosen. Right. No, it just means that he went to the other chosen people. Because you know how sometimes we can become, knowing we're chosen and there are other chosen people, but we feel like we should still have the monopoly. Okay, let me see. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna start here, and now. This is talking about, once again, the importance of what we're talking about, where he went, casting out demons, and bringing healing. And one thing that is important that we must understand, in all of these type of worships and in all of these religions, there is a demonic backing behind it. Now, understand what I'm saying so people don't become paranoid, which I believe the people that view are not paranoid and cannot become paranoid. I just pray not that you're not that type of person. But you have to understand, in order to believe some of the stuff that has been propagated and promoted, it has to have a demonic push and force behind it.
That's right.
So in other words, what does that demon or that demonic spirit or force does? It changes your perspective. Why? Because it begins to convince you that this is right. To the point, if it doesn't oppress you, then it has to do what? It has to come in and basically possess you. And a lot of times people think that people that are possessed act like they've been playing with Ouija boards, and act like people that are possessed act like, The Exorcist, the girl on Exorcist, their head spinning and they throwing up. No, that's not always the case. You got people that are possessed and you wouldn't even be able to tell it until truth begins to be revealed.
That's right.
You have to understand, once again, there are levels of demon possession, just like there are levels of demons.
That's right.
Now, we're going to read this. Like I say, you have to understand, this comes along with believing and esteeming pagan religions. in order to be so steeped in it where you cannot be brought into truth, there is something that constantly causes you to keep from being able to be broken out and broken away from that. Now, let's listen to this. Pagan religions throughout time parallel each other, carrying the sun, earth, mother, and child model from Babylon to Media, Persia, Phoenicia, Mycenaean, Greece, Rome, and Celts. Celts, I think, yeah, Celts. The Medes cooked the mythology into Zoroastrianism, producing the magician priest called Magi. They worshipped Ahura, Homa, and Ahurasma as their trinity. Now, we'll survey them under these trinities. The Greeks, Zeus was their sun deity, whose mother was Lydia, shown here riding a swan. Notice her headpiece, which you can't see that. Very much like Lady Liberty. Now, if you look at all that once again, and if you know what Lady Liberty looked like, then you understand the picture that I'm painting here. Why am I going over this again? Because you have to understand what it was that Yahushua had to encounter. Do not believe that Easter just came about when we start understanding what truth is. These deities and these pagan religions were around, and all that stuff was around for a very, very long time. And so by it being around a very long time, people went through great lengths and extremities to be able to have that stuff that they have deep embedded in them. And some did things that were diabolical, and they went through all kinds of changes to ensure that they possessed the power and the knowledge of these religions. Are you understanding me? Yes. So when we hear about Yahushua going in and casting out demons and healing, you have to understand they became crippled by this way of life. Crippled because they followed under these religions. This is not a religion for us. This is a way of life. Right. But when you out in the way of the lifestyle that we're supposed to have to follow religion, then there's some things that you will have to do that you would not ordinarily do. Am I making sense?
Yes.
All right, now it says, and we take a look at Athena and Ishtar. Those heads are indications that we are seeing the same person. Now, when you look at the Britannica Encyclopedia, 1934 states, Easter, or Ostara, or Estra, was the goddess of spring in the religion of the ancient angels, and Angles and Saxons. Every April, a festival was celebrated in her honor. With the beginnings of Christianity, the old gods were put aside. From then on, the festival was celebrated in honor of the resurrection of Christ, but was still known as Easter after the old goddesses. In contrast, the Creator says, break down their altars, smash their sacred stones, and burn their Asherah, Easter poles, in the fire, cut down the idols of their gods, and wipe out their names from those places. You must not worship Yahuwah, your power, in their way. All right, Deuteronomy 12. Okay, that's pretty clear. But what happened? The hypothesis of this book states on the outset that as pagans were absorbed into Christianity, it was the policy to accept everything they were accustomed to celebrating also. Now, the Catholic organization itself recited this, and this was from a Catholic cardinal, John Henry. The essay on the development of Christian doctrine. Once again, the reason why I'm reading this is because you have to understand where's he going. And whenever you are going to promote and to introduce truth, you must always uproot, and rebuke, cast out, and tear down the belief that they were walking in and that they had set as truth in their hearts. Now, you have to understand, that says a lot, and I know I said a mouthful, but you have to understand what that means. That means that these people, our people, understood we were not living in religion, we were living in a way of life. So in order to follow religion, we had to denounce our way of life, pick up and do what they were doing, which made them and us acceptable to things that were not healthy, and to spirits. Are you understanding me?
Yes.
Some people are more than others. Now listen what it says. This was published in 1878, and it states in chapter 8, The rulers of church from early times were prepared, should the occasion arise, to adopt, to imitate, or to sanctify the existing rites and customs of the population, as well as the philosophy of the educated class. The use of temples and those dedicated to popular or particular saints, and ornamented on occasion with branches of trees, talking about wreaths. Incense, lamps, candles, votive offerings on recovering from illnesses, holy water, holy days, seasons. The entire church calendar. Use of calendars, processions, blessings on the fields, sacerdotal vestments, the ring and marriage, chants, the Kyrie eleison, and even we got to look at that when it talks about ring and marriages. Because I like rings, so I have to really look at that. All are of pagan origin and sanctified by adoption into the what? The church. So once again, if you know they went to the extremes with all of this, what about the name? And not just the name, all that they had to endure. Now, once again, you have to understand, in that time that Yahushua was in, by that time, generations, it had and really crippled our people, just like today. Just like as of today. Now, let's look at it. There it says, if Easter was a pagan festival celebrated the impregnation of Mother Earth, how did it get mixed up with Christianity? Christianity's pagan connection started with one man more than any other, and 325 CE, the Roman Emperor Constantine I. Convened is now called the Nicene Council, gathering 220 elders, bishops together, in order to unify basic doctrines, teachings, and establish common practices. This universalizing produced the Roman Catholic Church, RCC. The Latin word Catholic means universal. There was no Catholic on planet Earth prior to this council. The only council mentioned in the writings conducted by the first Nazarene is mentioned in Acts 15, the purpose of which was to determine how to accommodate those wayward sheep or converts, which we would have called or called Gentiles. In other words, those prostituting sheep that lost their identity, who were turning to the Creator. The only topic, circumcisions. And since immersion in the name and receiving the Ruach into your heart is our circumcision, now it was decided that the physical, this is what they decided, that the physical circumcision was not necessary. Now, it's important that we understand at the beginning, by all adult men, it was important, and it's still important, that you, as a male, be circumcised. Right. Constantine's council sought to initiate new tolerances for pagan patterns and outlaw the patterns that the Savior lived by and taught. Now, he had already proclaimed Sunday as a day of rest. Now, once again, this is why I'm reading this, because I want you all to see this, once again, what he was up against and how did it affect them. It affected them in so many ways. You do know, once again, if you are not possessed by a demon, that you can be oppressed by one. Okay. And it causes people to act out, and it causes people to do all kinds of things. Now, once again, it's important that we understand. Now, dedicated to the sun, 321 CE, and now it came time to synchronize more paganism. By not repenting and turning away from elementary foolishness, it was similar to just absorb the behavior. Political and religious control is a slippery thing. Now, so by keeping the pagan rituals in place, control was maintained with a minimum of effort. Truth was twisted by the spin doctors. So the opposite of truth became our custom. Rather than 99% of the people conform to a totally new behavior. It was easier to just exterminate the 1% and put a scriptural spin on the pagan customs. Once again, what did they have to do? They had to totally change their behavior. And in totally changing your behavior, what ended up happening? They dropped down their guards and they began to do things that were not kosher and that were not right. Now, once again, it's important that we understand that. Now, it's as we read, now. Setting and changing set times. All these things went into place. Now, if you start changing set times once again, it is important that you understand. Not only do you change times, but you also change names.
Right.
Okay. Okay. Okay, generic terms. Okay. The Sanya autograph. The truth is right beneath a false facade. Once again, to maintain control and keep everyone from having to change anything, we have inherited the long-standing custom of only using generic terms and devices to refer to the true creator. Non-specific general terms were employed to conceal personal names of pagan deities. And only the initiated would know them. Secret societies still have special hand signs and passwords, and they control their membership with strict hierarchical designs. Now, once again, why am I reading this? Because you have to understand what Yahushua was up against there and what we, as his followers, are up against now. There are those that will go to the extremities, and there are those that will dance on the outskirts and just get their toes wet. Then there are those that will jump in wholeheartedly. Right. And they will be basically wet from the crown of their heads to the sole of their feet, no matter what changes they have to make, no matter what they have to eat, no matter what they have to stop eating. They will do all the changes to ensure that they have just what they want. Right. Now, once again, everything began to become generic. And so the reason why it began to become generic is because they not only wanted to hide the name of the deities, but they also wanted to hide the name of Yahuwah. Right. It's important that we understand that. Now, read some more. Examples are the Rosh, I think it's the Rosicrucians. What, how do you say that? Rosicrucians? Rosicrucians or Rosicrucians. Masons, Illuminati, Knights, Templars, etc. The expressions we are familiar with, like God, Lord, Almighty, Eternal, or even the Creator, as have been using up to now in this, as he's been using up to now, in the past to refer to pagan deities. None of them except one was ever a name. Everyone who defends the use of these expressions uses the excuse that we are speaking English, and we've heard that. Mm-hmm. Now, once again, you have to understand each one of these are represented or connected to a deity that had a demonic spirit that was behind it. All right, now let's finish reading. The term God was never used to refer to the true creator until Christianity went into the Norse area in the 6th century CE. The original Hebrew term, which underlies the word God in our English translation, is El, meaning power. The word means one of strength or awesome one, the root being Aleph Lamed. This is describing a being of tremendous power. The pagan deities never became angry or pleased because they simply aren't there. Even these Hebrew terms are only expressions of what the true creator is, but not used as his personal name. Right. But he has one and only one. Adjectives attached to his name cause people to think he has more than one. But really there is just one, and you can prove it from a good dictionary or a great dictionary or encyclopedia. When we look up the word Yahuwah, or it says Yahweh, which is still Yahuwah if you pronounce it the right way. Yahuwah. Okay? It is only an attempt to sound the name using English letters, and originally comes from 4 Paleo-Ibram letters, Yah, He, Yu, Ha, or He. Paleo means ancient. The letters are written from right to left in this original script. It is called Ibram, derived from one of Shem's descendants whose name is Eber. A few generations later, Abraham was born, the son of Torah, one of Eber's descendants. When Abraham's nephew Lot was carried off by invading armies, the next one says, who had escaped came and informed Abraham, the Hebrew or the Ibram. Ibram is called Lashon Kodesh, or set apart tongue. It is the name of the Creator lost? The encyclopedia states that the proper personal name of the Most High began to be suppressed by the true worshipers, the children of Yasrael, because of their dispersion among pagans, for their failure to esteem the law to let the land rest and release debts every 7 years. Yahuwah allowed them to be carried off to Babylon for 70 years. Beginning in 580 BCE, Daniel's lifetime encompassed this Babylonian captivity. The Babylonians knew they were called Yehuda, bearing the name of Yah, their power. To ridicule them, these pagans began to call them Yahuds. Hearing the name blasphemed, treated commonly on the lips of pagans, was so offensive, the name was avoided completely. Over time, it became an offense worthy of death by stoning for pronouncing the name aloud, except by a Kohen. This is why Rabbi Shaul was sent out to arrest the early Nazarene, because the key of knowledge was being used by them openly. In Acts 9:21, Luke records that Rabbi Shaul was converted and teaching in the synagogue of Damascus. There they began saying, "It is not he who is in Jerusalem destroyed those who called on his name." Whose name? Yahuwah. Then it goes on to describe how they plotted to stone Rabbi Shaul, but he slipped away. Indeed, Paul was stoned several times with the name, but did not die that way. Stephan's death, Acts 7, occurred because he uttered the name, causing the Sanhedrin to cover their ears, screaming blasphemy, and then they stoned him to death. This is also why the other sects, the Pharisees and Sadducees, picked up stones to try to kill the Savior. Carefully reading will give insight to the problem of using name. Once again, this is why Yahusha went through so much. And this is why you have to understand things that he did, he had to basically go in covert. Basically, things that he had to do secretly. Why? Because those that would ever see him doing anything openly knew that he was using the name of Yahuwah, would come against him and try to take his life, because the name was never to be used. Now, somebody will say, well, why did you go through all that to read all that and bring all that out? Well, the reason I brought that out is because, once again, let's look at what was happening. And he preached in their ears, verse 39, in the synagogue throughout all of Galilee, and cast out demons. What did he have to preach in their ears? He had to come and bring forth truth about the name of who? Yahuwah. So in teaching and preaching this truth, yes, he was coming under fire, and yes, many of them would have to have demons cast out of them. Yes, many of them would have to be healed. Why? Because they had to alter their lives, opening some of them themselves up. A whole lot of religious jargon and religious practices that opened them up to demonic spirits. And so in order for them to be able to hear and understand the Besorah, they had to go through a cleansing. They had to go through a purging. They had to go through a deliverance. They had to go through a washing. They had to go through an immersion. And they had to go through truth. Right. Now, once again, someone will say, well, how could that be? You know, they're not playing Ouija. You have to understand those things are after, even an afterthought. The demonic spirits, all they need is an open door, and they will take that door. That's right. All they need is an opportunity, and they will walk in it. Mm-hmm. How do you give them an opportunity? By continually walking in disobedience, because you have to understand the enemy will meet you on your own grounds, on your own terms. This is why when Rabbi Shaul began to talk to them, he told them, he said, having itchy ears, heaping to themselves teachers. Why? Because this is what they wanted. And the danger in that is the more you do that, the more you will solidify and cause yourself to be concreted or be solidified or to be secured in that way, which is error and which off. And what will the enemy do? He will wait right there to basically make sure you never come out of it. That's right. He will make sure. So the importance of understanding this is understanding why he was there casting out demons. Why did he have to bring forth healing? You have to understand he had to bring forth healing and he had to bring forth deliverance because it had to be something also a force to keep the children of Israel from truly being able to come back by themselves. Right. Now somebody would say, well, does that mean I'm possessed with a demon? Does that mean that I have a demon? Does that mean that I'm walking around here and I need to be delivered? If you need to be delivered, one of the things is for sure, you would not be accepting truth.
That's right.
And one thing about deliverance, when you really want to be delivered, don't nobody have to make you. You come because you know there's a problem there.
Yes, that's right.
You know there's a problem there. You know there is something that is preventing you from accepting his truth. When you understand, no, I want this truth. I'm letting go and giving up everything that's not like you, Abba. I ain't fighting you. I don't want nothing out there that's not yours. I don't want to be connected to anything that's not clean.
Right. That's right.
And when you walk with that and you don't have to worry about wrestling and struggling and once again tossing and turning and going from extreme to extreme just to accept truth, then you understand, no, I understand that I'm able to accept it. But then there are those that need deliverance because their minds are locked and blocked.
Right.
I read a post that my third oldest son had put up, and he was talking about music, and he began to talk about his screen, and he said, my blank screen, and I told him, no, it's not blank, it's just invisible. And he said, you're right. Some terms we use not realizing, I mean, it was an I don't want to say a mistake, but it was innocent to a degree. Because once again, you have to understand when we don't understand and don't know, we have to be corrected. A blank mind is a dead mind.
That's right.
Anything that's blank is dead. Blank tape has nothing on it until something is put on it, meaning that it's useless.
Right.
And none of us have blank minds unless we are dead, because the dead know nothing. What happens is we have minds and we have understanding. What happens though is where on what side of the line is our understanding? Mm-hmm. What side of the line is our understanding and what side are we defending and what side are we attacking?
Right.
Mm-hmm. It's important that we understand once again. There are some that are, and there are some of those that have been oppressed by demonic spirits. You can't rest, you can't eat, you're tormented. You cannot, every time you go to try to relax and rest, you cannot. You have, your stomach is always turning and twisted. You always walking in anxiety, always scared something gonna happen, somebody gonna do something to you. That's torment. And torment is not unless you are reprobated and you've been turned over.
That's right.
And so we must understand, once again, what he had to deal with. All those years, they walked in that. All those years, and doing the practices. You have to understand, some of them were doing all kinds of things.
That's right.
And these were Ibram, working and operating in witchcraft. Mm-hmm. Operating in the magic and in the things. Magi is just a word for magician.
That's right.
And so when it's all said and done, they were in the practicing the black arts. Doing things that they really didn't understand, wearing crystals and all that stuff, and operating in divination. And so you have to understand, they had to be delivered from these things. And so it's important, very important, that we understand what he was doing and why he was doing it, and where did it stem. This is why when you come into truth, it is very important that when you come into truth, you make up in your mind to fight the good fight of belief.
That's right.
And maintain. And don't be all over the place, because you better understand the enemy is waiting and he's looking for an opportunity to get you in a position that he gets you down for the 10 count. He don't want to kill you because he got to keep a host. He got to keep somebody doing his foolishness. Mm-hmm. So he wants to make sure that you remain ignorant and that you remain stubborn and remain all in yourself so that you will never be able to walk out. See, because that's what he does. And when you do that, that's what you do. You strengthen the enemy, and you strengthen that spirit that continually rides you and constantly rides with you. You open that door, and now he comes in and he abides in you.
That's right.
This is important. Like I said, you have to understand, we ain't playing no games. This is for real. And you got to live it. You got to make sure your life is closed and that what you do according to the writings, and you live a Kadesh life.
That's
not
right.
being in and out, not here and there and all over the place. Because if you do, you don't ever know. One day you might wake up and not be able to understand reality.
That's right.
Or fiction. You may not be able to understand what is truth and what is not. We were watching a movie last night and we're getting ready to pray after I say this. We were watching a movie on last night, and it was called Virtual Reality. And in this movie, people, because of oh my goodness, because of the status of the earth, and because of the way the earth was, it was black, and everybody basically had abandoned the earth, and there was really no people outside. The sun had failed to shine, the skies were dark, and everybody was inside, and it was more of like a 2042. It was during the time of 2042. And basically, it wasn't so much spaceships, but the cars could basically fly. And the whole gist of the movie was that people preferred to live in a life that was fantasy. And so what they would do is plug in, and the game was you plug in and it basically taps into the mind and it takes you into this fantasy world. And you can connect with other people, and you could do these missions. You could be who and whatever you wanted to be, because outside of the world was gloomy, it was doom and gloom, and what the people wanted, like the politicians, they enjoyed it like that, because it kept, people would only live to about 40-something years old, because they would die of bad health, die because basically all they would do was play a game. They would eat a little bit, and what they would basically do is they would spend their life on the game. And so the government just paid for them to live in dilapidated houses, gave them a food allowance, and after giving them a food allowance, they basically just waited for them to die. They didn't have insurance. And so basically what ended up happening was they basically just eventually died. And so there was this young lady who was saying, we need to free our people, we need to free our people. And one thing about freeing people, just like Morpheus said, he said, normally we don't free people after they reach a certain age. Now, I'm just using movies as an example. I ain't saying that we can't go and help folk. But one thing I did see on one of these posts, and I tend to agree with it, some of them mothers at 60, 70, and 80 years old, except Yahuwah opens that heart and mind, you're wasting your time.
That's right.
Because they are not going to change. And so, but one of the things that this young lady was trying to do was she was trying to free people that didn't want to be free. And they turned on her like a pack of wild animals. And they killed her. And they killed everybody that was doing it, tore up the computers. And the guy that was helping her, he said, are you sure everybody wants to be free? And she said, well, we're going to do it whether they like it or not. And the outcome was horrific, because she and all her team ended up dying, and they died a horrible death. Because the people beat down the door, and they beat them with shovels, they beat them with axes, and you could see the people, they were all overweight or they were anorexic, and they were saying, who gave you the right to take away our choice? We want to live like this, this is what we want, and you and nobody else are going to take it from us. Now somebody say, well, why would you say that? Because you have to understand, when you have people like that are so addicted to something that they can't see truth, versus they can't see reality versus fiction, and that what is just a mirage, that person has a problem. That's gone beyond an addiction. That's a possession.
That's right.
Because they would prefer to die and at the age of 40, 30 than to live in truth. And that's the way a lot of our people are today. Give me my lie. Don't give me truth. Because if you give me truth, then now I got to change doing and being who I am. And I ain't ready for that. That's a problem. That is a problem. And a lot of times, once again, it goes from addiction to a possession, to where now I can't do without it, and I won't do without it, and it don't matter. Now, once again, and you can see that's a major problem.
That's right.
But once again, what did Yahushua do? He continued to teach and preach the Besorah and proclaim it to the prostituting sheep, whether they wanted to hear it or not. And guess what? For all those that wanted, they are the ones that came. And for the ones that did not want it, they say. And I'm sure the ones that came admitted, I have a problem and I cannot break this addiction. I cannot break this hold. I cannot. And though many of those, I'm sure he saw it on them. And that is those are the ones that he was able to break the demonic force off of them and cast demons out. And he was able to bring truth into their lives. Once again, it's important that we understand this is not a game. And people's souls are at stake. That is why, once again, we have to look at the life he lived. And as he lived it and walked it, so can we.
Right.
Now, I would never suggest you go and do something he has not orchestrated you to do.
That's right.
Don't be like the seven sons of Sceva, who went in and called himself casting out demons and turned around. And that demon man possessed with them demons, he said, Paul, I know you, Yahushua, I know, but who are you? And he beat them all out of their butt naked. If you don't know what you're doing, you better stay up out of it.
Right.
Or that demon will tear you asunder.
That's right.
Once again, this just challenges us and causes us to be prepared and be ready and do what we're supposed to do.
That's right.
And it is so.
And it is so.
Once again, as we continue to look at his life and began to look at, will continue to look at the places he traveled and the things he did and the lives he touched, so are we to do as he did.
That's right.
Once again, I want you to keep your hearts encouraged, keep your minds and your heart and your will in and upon the Torah, because you can't go wrong. And one thing also I want to constantly reiterate, prayer. We can't go throughout the day without prayer.
That's right.
It didn't say you had to pray all day. It just said there are certain times that we are supposed to be in prayer.
That's right.
Early in the morning, noon, and at night. Those 3 times of prayer. And it's important that we find ourselves doing so. Because let me tell you something, when you start your day with prayer, it doesn't matter what and who try to come and be done crazy. Prayer will be like a shield, and it'll keep that stuff from penetrating to your heart and cause you to just go on by and brush it off. But if you don't pray, people are able to get under your skin real quick.
That's right.
But when you charge today with prayer, and you continue to keep your heart and mind in and upon the Torah, you can't go wrong. Once again, I want to pray before we close out. Abba Yah, in the mighty name of your son, Yahushua HaMashiach, as we stand before you this great day, this night of Yom Shishi, a night that you have allowed us to come together, a night that you have allowed us to be recipients of your truth, a night that you have allowed us to understand the impact that you brought in the earth by going to Galilee and to the surrounding areas to recover the prostituting sheep of Yisrael. Abba Yah, as you've allowed your son, Yahushua HaMashiach, to do the same, to enlighten us and to teach us through the writings, that we may live the life and be that example and truly carry out the mission that you have left for us as your children, the children of power. I ask, Abba Yah, that we would do nothing of ourselves, but wait in a posture of prayer and wait for your instructions and guidance for us as we continue to teach and preach the Besorah unto the prostituting sheep of Yisrael. I pray that you would open their ears and remove the blinders from their eyes and give them a heart of reception and perception to receive your truth. I told you, Abba Yah, for the power that comes along with being filled with the Ruach HaKodesh. I told you, Abba Yah, for that what you're doing. Now, Abba Yah, for every listener, for everyone that was a part of this class, I pray, Abba Yah, that as they go back and read and as they go back and ruminate on what was said on tonight, that they will do a reality check, as we all do a reality check in our lives, to make sure that our lives are pleasing and that we are striving to be perfect in you. I pray, Abba Yah, that you would help us to remain Kodesh, set apart, that we would truly be your children, a people set apart, and that we would be like no other. And that whatever it takes for us to remain and continue to be on that path of Kadesh and set apart, that we will do it. I pray this night, Abba Yah, that you will break the hold of those spirits of oppression and depression that come to weigh down the minds and the ruach of your people. I pray, Abba Yah, those that are wrestling with situations and with things they don't want to reveal because of embarrassment. I pray this night, Abba Yah, for the manifestation of your writings that you have shown us as you went casting out demons and as you went teaching and bringing forth healing, that tonight that the manifestation of your power will be manifested in their homes, in their private places, in the private areas of their lives that they need deliverance. I told you, Abba Yah, for your will being done in us and through us. Now I ask, Abba Yah, for the tangibility and the manifestation of your writings in our lives this night. In the mighty name of Yahushua HaMashiach. And it is so. And it is so. Once again, continue to keep your head up, keep your shoulders squared, and keep your heart and your feet in and upon the Torah, because we can't go wrong. Once again, I want to say to you that we are you, we are praying with you and for you. I want to say tomorrow, once again, Abba Yah willing, Yom Raviv, exercise. It is important that we get out there and exercise. It is important that we have discipline even in our eating and in the things that we indulge in. Once again, we don't want to become overweight, and then we don't want to be underweight, because both are very bad for the body.
That's right.
But we want to make sure and maintain that we are walking. And I know sometimes we can become, we can get to a place, many like to spend, and many like to munch, and many like to snack. And those are times when you don't, especially when you are in deep thought, or when things come to trouble you. That's the worst time to go to the store, and that's the worst time to snack and to nibble, because you will snack and nibble not until you are satisfied in your belly, but until you're satisfied in your emotions. And sometimes you can go overindulge in that. So once again, let us please be mindful and watch those things as we continue to progress and as we continue to develop in the things that Abba Yah has called us to develop in His Son, our Mashiach Yahushua. Once again, I want to say to you, I am Prophetess Brown, also Moral 777, and I am the leader of Messengers of Yahuwah's Kingdom, Great Belief Ministry, located in South Carolina. I want you to remember, here at Messengers of Yahuwah's Kingdom of Great Belief Ministries, located in South Carolina, I want you to remember, here is where the Torah
does the body good.
Until next time, may Abba Yah Baruch Atah and keep you in His shalom until we meet again. Also, I want you to remember that you've been touched by Champion TV, a place where the champions reside. And it is so.
And it is so.